If you've ever had that nagging, frustrating, low back pain, you know it can completely take over your life. But what if I told you the cause isn't just simple wear and tear? What if it's actually a hidden biological battle happening deep inside your spine? Well, let's pull back the curtain and uncover the real story behind that pain. First, let's just get a sense of how massive this problem is. We're talking about an estimated 619 million people worldwide who are dealing with low back pain. That's not a small number. It's the single biggest cause of disability on the entire planet, and it's only getting worse. That number is expected to shoot past 840 million by 2050. This isn't just a nuisance. It is a full-blown global health crisis. And this brings us to the central mystery of our explainer. I mean, we see disc degeneration on MRIs all the time. Doctors see it, in teenagers even. It's often just chalked up to being a normal part of getting older. So here's the big question. Why does one person with a disc that looks totally worn out on a scan feel perfectly fine, while someone else is in absolute agony? That's the puzzle we're going to piece together today. To really get started, you have to appreciate just how weird this whole situation is. We know that up to 40% of all chronic low back pain gets blamed on the intervertebral discs. And yet, get this. Studies have shown that a staggering 90% of people who have major disc degeneration on their MRI scans are completely asymptomatic. They feel nothing, no pain at all. So let's just get this straight from the get-go. Degeneration does not equal pain.
This chart really drives that point home. See that 40% slice? That tells us that discogenic pain, pain coming straight from the disc itself, is a huge piece of the puzzle. But obviously, it's not the whole story. To really figure out what's going on, we have to look past the idea of wear and tear and dive into the biology happening inside that disc.
All right, so let's do a quick anatomy lesson. And honestly, the best analogy out there is the jelly donut. It sounds silly, but it's perfect. Your intervertebral disc is that little cushion sitting between your vertebrae. It's made of two main parts, and understanding them is absolutely key to solving our pain mystery. Right in the center, you've got the nucleus pulposus. That's the jelly. This stuff is amazing. It's super hydrated, just packed with these water-loving molecules, which gives the disc its squishiness. It's what allows your spine to absorb shock every single time you take a step or go for a run or jump. You can think of it as the engine of your spine's flexibility. And of course, you can't have jelly without the donut, right? Holding all that jelly in place is the annulus fibrosus, or the dough. But this isn't just some simple container. No way. It's a highly sophisticated, multi-layered ring made of incredibly strong collagen. Its whole job is to provide serious structural stability and keep that jelly center from squishing out under pressure. And here's where the engineering gets really cool. Think of it like nature's own plywood. You've got these 15 to 25 layers of collagen fibers stacked on top of each other. But the fibers in each layer are angled about 60 degrees differently from the layer above and below it. This crisscross pattern creates this incredibly strong, incredibly resilient structure that can handle the massive forces your spine deals with every single day. Just brilliant. Okay, so that's a healthy disc. It's a beautiful system, but what happens when it starts to break down? This process, which scientists call intervertebral disc degeneration, or IVDD, this is where the real story of pain begins to unfold. I mean, just look at this side by side. The difference is like night and day. A healthy disc is plump, it's flexible, it's constantly in a state of balanced repair. But a degenerated disc, it becomes dehydrated, stiff. It loses that shock-absorbing ability, and its internal chemistry just flips on its head. It starts breaking itself down faster than it can rebuild. This quote from the research really hits the nail on the head. This isn't just a passive thing, like a tire wearing out. It's an active metabolic shift. The disc's own cells, the very ones that are supposed to maintain it, actually start to participate in its destruction. So who are the bad guys driving this breakdown? Well, meet the agents of destruction. In a degenerating disc, you get this overproduction of enzymes, like matrix metal proteases, or MMPs. Think of these guys as a microscopic demolition crew. They're designed to break down the disc's structure. In a healthy situation, they're kept on a tight leash, but here, they go into overdrive, just chewing through all that vital collagen that gives the disc its strength. And as if that wasn't bad enough, another problem is brewing. As the disc breaks down, it produces a lot of metabolic waste, which makes the inside of the disc acidic. This toxic, acidic environment really stresses out the cells, causing them to send out even more alarm signals, which just makes the damage even worse.
It's a truly vicious cycle.
So, okay, let's recap. The disc is breaking down, it's inflamed, it's acidic. It's a mess. But remember our big mystery. This whole process can be completely silent. So degeneration by itself isn't enough to cause pain. For that to happen, 3 other very specific things need to occur. These are the crucial triggers that flip the switch from silent degeneration to screaming pain. The first culprit is runaway inflammation. As the disc breaks down, all these little fragments of its matrix start floating around. The body's immune system sees these fragments as a threat, like an intruder, and it sounds the alarm. This floods the area with powerful chemicals that cause swelling and irritation. It's basically like a fire starting inside the disc. Culprit number 2 is something called neovascularization. Now, a healthy adult disc is almost entirely avascular, meaning it has virtually no blood supply inside. But during painful degeneration, new blood vessels actually start to grow deep into the disc's outer layers. These vessels act like highways, bringing in even more inflammatory cells, just pouring gasoline on that fire. And this brings us to the final, and honestly, the most critical culprit of all, the invasion of nerves. This is the real game changer. This is where the pain signal truly comes from. See, right alongside those new blood vessels, pain-sensing nerve fibers begin to grow into the disc, a place where they absolutely do not belong. To really appreciate how dramatic this is, you have to understand this one simple fact. A healthy disc is basically numb on the inside. Any nerve endings are restricted to the very, very outermost layer of the annulus. The inner parts, including that whole jelly-like nucleus, have no nerves. They can't feel pain. But in a painful, degenerated disc, that all changes. The inflamed cells start pumping out chemicals like something called nerve growth factor, or NGF. This stuff acts like a beacon, literally guiding new nerve endings to sprout and grow deep into that damaged, chemically irritated tissue. So now, you've got a direct telephone line from the damaged disc straight to the pain centers in your brain. And those new nerves, they're constantly being bathed in this inflammatory soup, making them hypersensitive. That is the secret of discogenic pain. So understanding this whole complex chain of events, degeneration leading to inflammation, leading to new blood vessels, leading to new nerves, it really shows us why diagnosing discogenic pain is so incredibly difficult for doctors. It's not as simple as just looking at a picture of the spine and saying, aha, there's the problem. This table really breaks down why it's so tricky. An X-ray might look totally normal, even if someone's in a lot of pain. An MRI is great for seeing the structure, that so-called black disc, but as we've already learned, that doesn't always mean it hurts. And other tests, like discography, can be unreliable and even carry their own risks. The bottom line is, our current tools can see the what, the structural change, but they can't see the why, the biological storm causing the pain. But here's the really hopeful part. By understanding these biological triggers, we can finally start developing smarter treatments. I mean, imagine injecting a special hydrogel that not only calms down the inflammation, but also carries a signal that tells those invading nerves to back off, or using a patient's own cells to help rebuild the disc from the inside out. This is the future, actually tackling the root cause of the problem. So, when you put it all together, what does this mean? For the millions and millions of people living with chronic back pain, it means that for the first time, we're really on the verge of not just masking the symptoms, but actually fixing the underlying problem. So just think about that for a second. What if we could actually stop those pain signals before they even start? That's a future worth fighting for, and it might be closer than you think.